Hello, and welcome to Broker Than You. I am your host, the best podcast host in the universe, Steve Cully. And with me, as always, my charismatic entrepreneurial real estate co host, Mr. Laban Marsh. Laban, hello.
Good to see you, Steve. Glad to be
Hmm,
with you again.
I
And
know. I feel
today,
like I just saw you yesterday.
hey, and we did. I like this regular. My wife said you got to be regular with this and give people some content. And
It's
so
good.
in
Yes.
doing so, it was something where we just started pole vaulting. I coached the pole vault. We just started jumping this week. And 2 years ago is when I met my guest in Corey France, whatever you call him. Just pay the man. Um,
Corey, welcome to the show.
Yes,
Welcome to
sir.
Broker Than You. We're happy to
Hey,
have you on.
honored to do my first what do you call these
First
things? A
podcast.
podcast.
That's a
Whatever.
Yeah.
podcast. That's a podcast. That's all it is.
Well, and
That's
it's
all it is.
it's good to get these construction guys out of the 90-degree heat on a day into some air conditioning and explain
Oh,
to
it is so
people
hot out.
what it takes to do the work that he does. And in fact, I remember because I posted the video recently when he was laying the blacktop down for the pavement. It was one of the
98
hottest
degrees,
days, 98 degrees, and he's out there on the blacktop laying the runway for us. And so the idea of Broker Than You, of course, I'm a real estate broker, and honestly, so much of what we deal with, I'm on a few boards, the sewer authority, a couple of other economic development, but it's guys like this that build the infrastructure, whether it's roads, bridges,
Right.
do all those things that we kind of take for granted.
We
And
do.
and we need more young people because what you actually turn, 35 on Saturday?
36. Yeah.
36. See,
Wow.
Yep.
there you go. So
You look,
he's a young buck.
We're
you
not
look
getting any
young for
younger.
sure.
Oh, don't lie to me.
He doesn't have any wisdom in his beard yet, like I do. But again, I think getting young people willing to do the hard work that it takes to enable the rest of us to move around and enjoy the luxuries of what we have is important. And so I wanted to bring Corey in to talk a little bit about
Yeah.
his business and what he does in the area. And he's spreading the wings and kind of starting to grow. But again, it was, I think, on Facebook where I posted, hey, does anybody, I'm in search of somebody that's willing, a lot of these road guys, they're just focused on, their big projects. And so when Corey, and actually that led to, we're at my wife's office right now, and he paved this office a year and a half ago after the runway. So, that work, when you do good work, it leads to referral business. And so that's where, I wanted to have him in. Plus, he has some pretty exciting news because you're about to author your first book.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Congratulations.
So
That's
Yeah.
incredible.
About like 89
Um,
days before it will come out. So
the clock's ticking.
yeah.
are you born and bred in Erie?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And you have your own business. Um, did you start working for someone else and then eventually open your own business, or have you always had your own business?
Oh, well, so I started working at a young age. I got a older brother that owns a masonry business. Um, I was carrying brick and stone and stuff around at like 12 years old, looking through a transit, with my brother over there standing with the tape measure, like, what number are you seeing? That ain't the number. So, yeah, I had a good
That,
work
that
ethic at a young age
that's
of a
such a
masonry
tough
business.
job. Yeah.
And I learned footings and in transit and stuff like that at a young age. So, yeah, pretty much worked my entire life. And then, getting out of school, I worked for a plumbing company,
Oh wow.
little masonry. And then I worked for a company called Shivers Construction Company. And they're one of the bigger companies around that do storm sewer and water, main water line, sewer line, waste treatment centers, bridges, stuff like that. And I stuck around with them, 4 or 6 years or so before I went in the military. And
Oh,
I was an engineer in the Army. We blew bridges up, did stuff like that. And while I was in, I did stuff for, on the side, floors, handyman work. And that just kind of grew, and then I medically retired out of the military.
You got a medical discharge?
Correct. Yeah. I was a paratrooper in the 82nd Airborne Division, and multiple stuff happened. We can get into that in another day. Yeah. But
Laban, you got a paratrooper you're bringing on? Wow.
Listen, I'm trying to bring the best.
That's incredible.
Prior to going into the military, though, I was a professional MMA fighter. Now, I wasn't, Conor McGregor or anything like that, but I was out in the circuits, in the NAAFS, King of the Cage, stuff like that,
right.
small end television time. But I always worked, always had a second job, and always was trying to, get back to the community and teach.
What was your weight class in MMA?
Featherweight. Yep. So
is that in kilograms or pounds?
I was 135. Maybe I don't even remember now. What is that, Bantam or feather?
I'm not even sure. Yeah.
Because flyweight's 125. Yeah, so I was featherweight. Yep, 135.
So can I ask you about that?
Titles? And yeah, go ahead.
Because this always has intrigued me. Okay, the UFC, these fighters, they go in and they train and they do all that. And then, I don't know, the day of the day or 2 days before the weigh-in is when they try to cut weight, and they'll try to cut like 10 pounds or 8 pounds. Like, how much realistically, like, would you go in before a cut and talk about how difficult the cut would be? Because I've seen people running with the trash bags on and in the saunas, and I'm like, this is insane.
Yeah, you want to talk about being around somebody that I don't think anybody can get along with for that week. I've lost 14, 15, 20 pounds in 3-4 days right before a fight. Typically,
that's normal. Like, your trainers want you to go in. Your trainers.
Do I think it's normal now? No, but then I mean, yeah. Some of these guys are dropping 20, 30 pounds for a fight.
30 pounds.
That doesn't deplete your energy so much. It does, and that's where you're saying it's a terrible time because you are a miserable individual. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, I wish I could go back now and figure out where I needed to be focus wise to do a better job at it. But I mean, there's different tactics. Like after you weigh in, like you're allowed to put 14 pounds on.
Oh yeah, you got to.
Yeah, so everybody's there. There was a tactic me and my buddies did. We would take a shot of Vladimir vodka, and it would like expand your stomach so that you could actually get some food in you. Other than that, like you take a couple bites and you're full.
Yeah, after not eating for so long, that's where it's really tough.
Ice cubes and peanut butter.
So it's 3 or 4 days of literally ice cubes and peanut butter. Like that's how intense it is.
Especially if you try to sneak something in late at night, you can't resist.
So I mean, the self-control over that, and it's wild how it requires self-control, and then once you get into that octagon, like lose all self-control and just go nuts, right? I mean, it's almost like you want to create that hunger so that you chew the head off of your opponent. I mean, it's an interesting balance for any athlete that has to cut weight because, and we talked about this briefly, as pole vaulters, they have to make weight at the more competitive. Yeah. And so how do you get these kids ready when they haven't worried about it all year until now we got to focus on it? And it becomes the mindset, to your point. If you were to better understand that mentality of whether it's the expectations or what the physiological changes you're going to go through that lead to either mental challenges. But yeah, that is fascinating. I didn't realize guys cut that intense in that short period of time. That's why I asked
about it. Yeah, that's why I asked about it, because I couldn't believe, like, I thought they'd cut like 5 pounds. And then I'm reading about it, and they're like, they're cutting 10, 15, 20 pounds, and they're doing it in a couple days.
The morning of.
And so you're saying, though, there's a rule that you can't gain more than 14 back or you're disqualified?
Right. Yep.
Really? And
And
how do you
yeah,
gauge
yeah.
that? Like you
Weigh
gain
it
10
in the
pounds and
next
you're
day.
upset you didn't pick up the other 4. Like there's a science in that
There's a science
in and of
all
itself.
it, right? Yeah. And like, you know, as
Well,
far as like mentality wise, is like you got to just think about, you know, when you're hungry, you get
Oh,
you
the
get
hangry. I'm hangry.
yeah.
And that's if I just miss a
So
meal after 4 hours.
So go from being pretending like you're mad at somebody because, you know, in the business I was in, I wasn't getting paid to, you know, put on a show on TV. You know what I mean? I was just there to win, fight,
Kill
try to get
somebody,
to the next level. It wasn't. I was trying to get focused after that. So you know, it wasn't the bearing as I was mad at my opponent.
Right.
It was more like, all right.
So what was
now it's time to just relax, intake everything. Let's talk. Let's get back to the basics, footwork, hands up, game plan, you know, and then and that's how it went. And, you know, if I fully had my life and, you know, in order at the time, I could have gone a lot further, you know, just
well, you were
as
working a job. You were working a full-time job and training.
chasing
That's
women
you
at the
know,
bars.
of course.
That doesn't help the performance.
Yeah,
And how
That's a
about that? I
given,
mean,
though.
but they've talked about that before where you know, you're not allowed to have sex with your spouse or significant other for so many
Takes it out of you.
Wow.
That's from Rocky. That's from Rocky. Is that really
Well,
true?
but I
just
think
thought
there's
it was a
people
Rocky
that
thing.
there's some people that do that. I mean,
What happens when you're done?
I mean, it's interesting the strategies, and then how did competing? And I think this is where, as former athletes, you take that same competitive side to bid jobs, right? And I mean, a lot of times it's the lowest bid. Like I serve on these sewer authorities, and I have heard there's different municipalities that actually take the second lowest bid instead of the lowest to try to keep people really sharpening their pencil, which I thought was brilliant because a lot of times you'll see these bids come in and it's like a substantial 10 to 15% lower than everyone else.
Yep.
And then you start to worry, are there going to be change orders? You know, what is the history of this vendor and will they keep their word? Is this really, they work this efficient? Because we had a recent bid opening where they were about 250,000 and then one came in at 587. And it's like, are they
That's a
just bidding
huge-
themselves out? Yeah, it's really interesting to see that. But how do you handle when you're bidding a big job? I mean, do you get that angst of competition? Obviously, you don't probably starve yourself, but
Right, yeah.
do you use any of what you learned in the fighting in the cage in business?
Oh yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
you know, between
because you're
that,
by yourself.
wrestling, the military, all those things, life in general, wisdom, dealing with so many different people and stuff like that. I mean, you got to do your homework. You got to know what your competitors are doing. You got to know where their numbers are at. So you got to kind of funnel and do your research on that. And, you know, I try to grow a relationship with my competitors, to be truthful with you. You know, I call them and I'll say, hey, you want to go and do lunch? That's, you know, I think I did a job for him first. And then I knew that, you know, we go through some of the same issues with TBI and stuff like that, that I like to meet up with them every.
And in fact,
It's been a while now.
It has been. Well, and that was where I reached out, and
too,
it's usually lunch, but I think I even posted something as a lot of us former players do. Hey, if you need if you want to talk, reach out. And I know, and so he's like, hey, like right after I posted it, hey, can we grab lunch? And again, it's just the challenge we know, and this is part of the reason I started this, are what are the challenges that you're finding in your business that leads to that personal life challenges, whether it's financially, whether it's just your network and growing your opportunities. And so that's where, like I told you, Steve, part of why I want to do this is to get people to get comfortable being uncomfortable, but also to know your story. Like if you go to any sales, they want you the elevator pitch. What's your elevator pitch? You know, a minute or two with somebody.
Right.
You got to let people know what you do, what you're all about in that short period of time. And then it's also, you know, trying to retain their attention and then follow through. And I know even for Corey, it's the same thing. Sometimes if you haven't heard from a job you bid, you got to reach out and be assertive because, you know, I mean, there's times where clients, they and I've had vendors tell me, no, I'll check with them though.
No, we're good.
But it's something where you have to be willing to follow up and not just get in the door, but but like he's saying, build those relationships even with your competitors. Like, and I told you on one of the last podcasts, there was an agent from Coldwell Banker that just said it's such a pleasure to work with any of our agents because they know our moral background and that we want to take care of our clients and we want the transaction to be as seamless as possible. And if there's an issue, we're going to find a solution. So
that's very important.
Also touches in a little bit about my book and the relationship with other customers and stuff like that is like, you want to grow as a person every day. You don't want to lose track of doing that. It's easy to get out of high school and get out of college and stop reading.
Yeah.
Stop learning, stop remembering that,
You're right.
What words actually mean. And not to get into it a bunch, but that's a little bit about what my book's going to be, is like how easy it is to get sidetracked. A lot of people don't know the true definitions of these words that they're out here using. And as a business owner, you got to be sharp. And right now I'm going through a transformation in my life where I've completely reconstructed my core values with my personal life, core values with my business life, establishing a mission statement for my personal life, and separating it from my business. And so now I'm starting to enjoy life and see things grow better. I'm more productive on my time. I'm taking vacation. There was a time for, I'm coming up on year 4, but I would say like 3 years, I just straight swamped myself. And I don't think that you could go around doing that to a manner. I definitely could have been managed a little better, but right now I am really working on and investing a lot into myself, personal growth, and what I can bring to the community, so that they have my back too. So here's something that I posted the other day. A passion of mine is to help young entrepreneurs find the path within themselves to create and implement a lifestyle that fits and meets the standards of the life that they desire to live.
Yeah. Wow, you're a very good writer too. Wow.
So that's kind of something that I live for.
That's awesome.
Your book is coming out. Who is publishing it? How is that getting done? Is it paperback? Is it through Amazon? What did you do for your book?
So it's going to be through a publisher. His name is Mike Fallett, and if you guys can check out his social media, I mean, his story is unbelievable. He is the owner of I think it's Dreamstar Publishing, the $1 Million Circle. He wrote a book to try to get a girl's attention back in the day. And she works for him now for like the last 7 years. In the book that he wrote, he became famous. Started a publishing company. He's published like 350 best-selling authors, and I'm looking to push for a bestseller with this. So
did you type your book up, or did you write it and then turn in a manuscript? Is that how it works? And then they edit it?
So yeah, we do like online interviews and stuff like that. And a lot of the stuff, I write out. It's totally edited by the publishing team, stuff like that, like A to Z. I'm not writing that, I'm not even capable of doing something like that, but that's why you hire a publisher.
Yeah.
And Mike Fallett, I think, is one of the best ones to hire for my first one. I met him in a entrepreneur retreat. So I'm involved.
I heard those are great.
Yeah. So I'm in this group called Legacy Entrepreneurs, and we got a retreat coming up in September called Marketing Universe. And we're going to do the whole backstage thing through Harry Potter theme. Him and a bunch of guys that we're going to get together that are in this group. They're all, best-selling authors and stuff like that. Just going to get together, network, and just become better people for the community, for ourselves, and try to implement it on a daily,
Does the book tell your story? Like, is it about you and your life, or is it more about philosophy of business and starting your own business and your personal growth?
So my target is basically like who I was 5 years ago, just prior to me really opening and starting my business and kind of not knowing what I was doing and just being ambitious and jumping in. So I'd like to be able to give some young entrepreneurs a little shortcut, just getting around situation. And, I'd like to grow into maybe like a business coach and stuff like that to help people maybe not get into the jams that I got into by trusting people.
And
Yeah.
you would like to do some consulting work. You're saying, right?
Yeah, like we're going to see where it goes. I'd like to, be speakers at some of these retreats and, just network, meet people, and just be the best that we can be.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Going back to your MMA stuff, you said you were an amateur champion. You said you had multiple amateur titles.
Well, I fought for a couple belts and fought in some, top contending fights. I fought a kid named, oh man, my mind's going to go blank now. This is when that happens. Aljamain Sterling. Okay. He was out of Western New York at a team bomb squad. At the time I fought him, he was John Jones' sparring partner.
Wow.
Wow.
I had a scheduled fight at the now called Burger King Amphitheater. Or did they change it again?
I don't know. They keep changing them.
Against Aljamain Sterling. He's, now top in the world. And I don't know. I haven't been following that, man. I've been running my business. You search up Aljamain Sterling, you know who he is. Kid out of Canada, Andrew Shea. Fought him for a title fight as an amateur, and then my first pro fight. Then I went on into the Army, and just kind of did the same thing, same attitude. And, I stuck out. I ended up getting a coin for having the highest PT score in 2nd Brigade Combat Team. Still to this day.
What drew you into the Army to make you want to join the Army? Was there something that happened that made it flip the switch that made you say, okay, I want to join?
I always wanted to do
over
it.
Time? Okay.
Always wanted to do it, was afraid to leave because I didn't want to miss my, my nephews and nieces' graduations, games, stuff like that. Just had this thing that wouldn't let me leave. So finally, I was just sick of hearing the way the guys around me talk, not just to each other, but to their wives on the phone during lunch break. And I know I got to get out of here. And it was 2 days later, I had a meeting with a recruiter. Month later, my ship date was out, and 3 months later, I was gone.
And was that after? Because you went to Gannon for a bit, didn't you?
Yeah.
You went to Gannon University?
Yeah, so kind of a unique story. I amateur MMA fought, all right, and then was out of town. Wasn't legal in the state of Pennsylvania. They didn't have a commission. So we were we were doing sanctioned fights in Cleveland. I was fighting in bars in Cincinnati under the table doing stuff.
Yeah, because we didn't have it in New York either, right?
Yeah, we were New York in the reservation after college wrestling.
Oh yeah,
shipping out there. Yeah, it was nuts. But so I did that, and the first fights came legal in Erie. Now, if you remember a guy by the name of Dave Spinelli.
I know the Spinelli name.
Okay, well, he was an MMA fighter, All-American wrestler out of Gannon, Marine, older guy, went back to college, became an All-American. Well, he was an MMA fighter. We were in the same gym, all right? And we rode in a limousine that he was sponsored for to the first shows in Erie at the Avalon Hotel. I was I think I was one of the main events or something like that on the amateur side. Well, I had called Coach Henry of Gannon University. I said, hey, listen, I want to go to college and wrestle. I got his number from Dave Spinelli because he was a assistant coach. It's reach out to him.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Hey, I got you a table. Come to these fights. I want to come back and wrestle. He came. I got a fight of the night. I can't remember what it was. But once I felt the guy out, I started taking him down, letting him up, taking him down, letting him up. I got out of the cage. Coach Henry says, come see me Monday. I said, Coach, listen, I don't got a co-signer. He said, come see me Monday. So I ended up getting a full ride to Gannon University.
I didn't realize that.
God, wow.
Yeah, dude.
That's
they took real good care of me. I think I had to pay for my books. I didn't last long. I wasn't mature enough. Just wasn't for me. It was not there,
tough.
Man. Yeah,
it's a tough transition.
For the last year, you know what I mean? It's just
and you look great too. So you look like you could get in a cage right now and fight.
Yeah, I would steer clear. I would stay out of a cage.
I'm honestly at a point in my life where I feel like I could sit back and people, if anybody in my family sees this video, I could sit back and probably retain college. And that's not out. It could be in the future, but we're going to
good.
see how I can wind down this business a little bit and try to enjoy life a little better at this point.
The business that you have right now, is it something where you would look to maybe sell it at some point?
Got some sentimental value to it. So I grew a company. I went from a handyman to a commercial paving.
Oh, it's your baby. I got you.
It's called All American Paving and Construction. And the
Yeah.
name of the 82nd Airborne Division is the All American 82nd Airborne Division. So I
Oh,
would like to franchise it and move it down there.
What was that, Fort Bragg?
Fort Bragg,
Fort
yeah.
Bragg.
So that was my overall intention. Like, hey, listen, I'll just start this up. I want to have a vacation home or a winter home down there at some point, you know.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's what's so interesting is, you set that goal in mind, and as lofty as it might be, you're taking what they call baby steps. You're just sprinting through it. And again, I think there's seasons of life where, you had said 3 years ago, when you're trying to start up All American Paving, you got to grind. Like, you got to work weekends. You got to, and you're competing against unions and other, all these different factors. And yet it sounds like you're in the season to where, again, you start giving back. And I always, I talk to people a lot because I try to give back with my time, some money and things. And it's like, well, do you start once you have the time, give it? It's like, no, you're not going to give it once you have all this time. You have to give it before.
You said that. Yep.
It's just so true.
You got to stay in the trenches until the trenches tell you to get out. And that means like up there.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing. Like, you have, because even for me, I like to stay busy with things, but there are times where if I have too many appointments in a day, I just get wiped out. And again, you have to know that, right? That's like a 100-meter sprinter thinking they can run 2 400s and be okay later that night. It's just you gotta know that balance. But this is probably a crazy time of year because busy. We all see it on the road, up and down the roads with orange cones and things. And so how much of that seasonality, what do you do in the winter? Is that when you head south and try to get work down south?
Oh, no, that's right. Because
do
you plow or anything too? Do you do plowing?
Just this year was the first year that I offered plowing, but I didn't advertise it. It was only so.
And it was a bad winter for plowing.
Where I met him, he made a post about asphalt and somebody tagged me. Well, somebody on another post, somebody said, hey, I need somebody to look at 4 mobile home parks to have them paid. 10 people put my name on there. Boom, boom, boom.
So you were getting jobs left and right.
Yeah. So this was the beginning of summer last year, like maybe even like February that this post came out. Well, I hunted this guy down. I found out who he was. Went and grabbed him. I said, I want to do these jobs. And we wheeled and dealed, like you were saying, I was wheeling and dealing with big companies. And the company that I beat last year went out of business. They got bought out by McCormick.
Oh.
So I was bidding against Rhodes. They're a big company. And
Rhodes is big.
Cross Paving.
Yeah, so that's TC Paving out of Waterford. Yeah.
They're out of business. Yeah. So now, there's only just a couple of us companies, and I do really good work. We do good work, and there's no doubt about it.
How many people do you manage? How many people actually work for you and your company? Because that's a whole different thing.
Oh, managing people.
Right. Yeah. We bounce around between like 4 and 15 guys. All right. So in the winter, we're on the lower end, but we're still keeping busy doing water line repairs with these mobile home parks that I landed. Yeah, I got them. I got landed all. It ended up being like 3 mobile home parks, and then it turned into me entrenching the ditches for the electrician. Turned into me getting electrical work, then signing a contract to do 100 homes. So I went and got certified with the HUD to the HUD department to set mobile homes in the state of Pennsylvania. Now I'm doing water, sewer, gas, electric.
You're doing it all.
We're doing it all. Yeah. And trying to figure it out. The biggest thing is like being the doctor and the life coach to the guys that are around you.
Well, that's what I was going to say, because it's tough being a boss because you're dealing with so many different personalities.
Oh
and
boy.
and your style, you can't be nice to everyone, and sometimes you have to reprimand people, or sometimes you have to correct people, and they'll take it personally, instead of like, I'm not attacking you as a person, I'm just saying you're doing this job, you're doing this and this wrong, just change it.
And
So how would you say your management style is?
I'm pretty upfront. I let the guys know what they're getting into before they come. I say, listen, our hours are a little wacky. We do emergency calls, but this is what I can offer you. I can offer you, my loyalty, and that we're going to grow. We're going to give you raises. We're going to make sure that if you go and live, stay the course, that we're going to make a career out of this. Right.
Right.
And nobody makes it through the course.
It's,
You know,
I mean, that is the toughest part right now in 2024. And it's not just the construction. I mean, it's professional fields, executive. People do not seem to want to work, or they're willing to work, but their expectations of compensation
It is
are
ridiculous.
outrageous. And I think what
Yeah.
is so great about you is that, like, there's a lot of GCs that'll sit in their truck, in the air conditioned truck, and tell their guys to work. I mean, he's out there doing the work, which I think goes, so far with your employees, knowing that, hey, he's not just telling me to do it. Like, he was out here doing this yesterday, he's got to go do something else. But if you're just telling people what to do and not willing to do the work yourself, because I remember back, my grandparents were on Finley Lake, and the other Cross brother, Norbert, would be in the ditches running these gas lines and things. I mean, there's always those three legs. I learned that in construction up in Connecticut. You need the sales, you need the administration, and you need the labor. Sometimes you have to be all three, and then you
Right.
have to figure out where are my skill sets, and where can I be the best, and then hire and delegate out. And almost every business coach is trying to help business owners learn to delegate. And small businesses have such a hard time because they do it the best. But you
Right.
got to be willing to,
You
pay
can't
somebody.
micromanage.
If you right, and you got to give them that trust and that confidence that, hey, you're going to make some mistakes, but like you're saying, I've got your back. I will be loyal to you as long as you're loyal to me. And that goes just a million miles. Even though you give an inch, they take a mile. You still keep them in check, and when you're willing to be there every day, and not just guide and work. Like, hey, I know you're having a hard time with your wife right now. Take the afternoon off. That might not happen, but I mean, those are the things that you have to be cognizant of, or just, hey, go home when, even though the rest of us are going to be banging it out. You have to cater to some of those things, and then I'm sure, if it happens too much, you just got to lay that hammer down. And those are the tough parts, but they always say hire slow, fire fast. So
That's very true.
Here's
So
kinda, oop, I was
no, I
gonna
was
say
just
here.
going to ask Laban, how much work has Corey done for you personally?
So he's the pole vault runway. Then we did
Yep.
the driveway. I have another project, a 10-unit out on Buffalo Road, that we need to revisit. And that's where, and part of it came from, we had somebody else do our driveway about a year before I met him at our Peach Street office. And then we were going to do our Harbor Creek office, and ended up selling that one. So he's done a couple jobs for me. And again, what's great is that he's always, hey, he'll shoot me a text every once in a while. Hey, you got anything going? Anything I can help you with? And that's where it's not like he's slow. He's just saying, hey, I know you're busy. You usually have a lot of projects. Is there anything I can help you with? And I think that is vitally important. Anybody who's worked with vendors who don't get back in touch with them, to have somebody assertively reach out every once in a while and just say, hey, do you need me for anything? Hey, and I think that's part of growing the business. He's smart enough to ask, be willing to ask. And that's another sales tactic. There are people that teach sales training who will not, if the person doesn't ask them for the sale, they're not getting it. You have to say, are you willing to buy this house? If you can't
Right.
just sit there and wait, you have to be assertive,
You got to
go
be
out and
proactive.
ask for the business. And so that's something
Yeah.
that he's been great about doing.
I go right to the person that writes the check.
That's right.
Um,
You got to know the
in there,
decision
I
maker.
go in there. I say, hey, who here manages this? Who's writing the check? When can I get a hold of them?
Yeah.
And then
Corey,
we go and tell the deal.
is the publisher, obviously, how are you going to go about like promoting and marketing your book? Do you have a
So-
plan for that, or is that strictly on the publisher? How does that work?
So that's a big part of that group that I'm in. Like they're teaching me to be a well-rounded businessman in all the aspects. Like you said, he's like, you got to be the administrator,
Oh,
you got to
okay.
be the laborer, and you got to be that. Well, I was doing all three, not so much knowing what I was needing to do as an administrator. So I ended up, the best thing that I did for me in my business was hire a personal assistant that sets everything, tells me where I
Yeah.
need to be, checks
Yep.
up on me, and I forgot to
That's
let her
huge.
know about our meeting today. And I was
Whoops.
waiting, waiting on somebody to come pay me. But yeah, so the administrative side is, important. But the, marketing, that's part of my transformation right now, not, dealing with, people that not so much fit with my core values that are working for me. I'm able to start weeding them out, and hiring better people by the marketing process, basically on how you represent yourself. How nice would it feel if your employer said, hey, you're hired after the interview, you get an email, 3 days later, you get a box in the mail with shirts that say your name on it with All American on it, right? You're going to feel like, oh, this is going to be
Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah,
So it's
absolutely.
all about how you market the product. You got a good website, stuff like that. And that's why I want to get into
Websites, everything.
I mean, I spent a lot of money on improving myself. And
Yeah.
Well, and it sounds like, and I know this has been true, creating systems, right? Like you
right.
said, when you have a new hire come on, and for us in our business, when we have a new agent come in, we established this 16 years ago when we opened. There's a local photographer named Paul Lori who does a fantastic job. And every new agent we have, I think it's $150 or so for a headshot, but we send them right to Paul's office. He does a headshot. Paul knows the background we use. And so when we would do these large advertising campaigns, all 40 of our agents looked exactly the same. I mean, there was something to be said for the continuity. And so I think creating systems for your business, and that's outstanding. That's a great idea. You hire somebody and then they get in the mail a package with their gear.
Yeah, bam. Hey, listen, welcome. See you on my day.
And it's amazing because I know other businesses that are like, hey, I handed them their gear and they didn't show up the next day. So it's not like there's guarantees with it too. I mean, you have to stay on top
out of it. Yeah.
Right. You invest in these people and then they don't even show up for the first day. I mean, it is becoming more and more challenging, but that's why you have to do things like that. You get the buy-in from from your employee, and now they become raving fans. They start selling jobs for you, and that's where he's getting there. And it's just one step at a time. But I'm thrilled for his success and his growth. And then on the personal side too, you just got to surround yourself with like-minded people that are trying to go at that same trajectory. I mean, and so I'm thrilled to have him on, and it sounds like we're going to have him back for some more of these stories, some of the Army stories, man, jumping out paratrooper, jumping out of planes. I
perfectly fine airplane.
Yeah, jumping out of a perfectly fine airplane.
I have to say that Broker Than You is sponsored by Marsh Real Estate. If you are looking to sell your home in Erie County or Western PA, Marsh is for you. Just go to their website, www.marshamarshrealestate.com. Is that it?
Marshamarsh.com. Yeah, we kept it simple. We've been in business long enough that we were able to get that domain.
I put it
name.
in the show notes.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
But yeah,
well, thank you again, Steve. This was great. Yeah, and that's where, again, I think with his All-American Paving and Construction continues
we
to
can
grow.
help you.
And
for sure. We can help you for sure. With the podcast, we're going to be around Erie, and we can definitely help you market your business and promote your book. Those are things that, podcasting right now is the best vehicle for ROI, for return on investment, than radio and television compared to what you spend, compared to your return. Basically, every dollar you spend on podcast advertising, the average return you will get is $15. So you spend $1 on podcast advertising, you're going to get $15 back. And this is based off of a 3 to 6 month period. So podcasting is really the way to go. And that's something we can help you with. I really believe that.
Cool. Yeah.
And it helps.
An honor. Yeah.
Because and I have a business coach out of South Carolina, and we recently were talking about just we talk about emotional intelligence, but the engagement intelligence. People quickly forget what it is you do and what you're all about, and it's important to stay in front of them. We talk about top of mind awareness and understanding the difference in your marketing. Is it top of mind awareness, or is it trying to drive the ROI and revenue?
Exactly.
Because you have to understand the difference of those. Otherwise, you're going to get frustrated spending some dollars if it's for top of mind and not necessarily a return. There's a little bit of both, and I think that's where having good advisors like you do in that group. I mean, those that don't try to recreate the wheel. Take the advice of others who have tried it, and I think that's what you're saying with your business. If you can help some young entrepreneur, and we have had agents that come into our office and they've been fully transparent. Hey, I want to start my own brokerage. Great, I'll help you. These are the steps you need. Have at it. You know what I mean? So it's definitely exciting. And I mean, Steve, when you can help facilitate somebody's dreams or a path to that, there's nothing, as rewarding as doing that. Just like any coach feels about their athletes. And again, as a former athlete, I think it bodes well for your work ethic and kind of that, just what you're expecting as far as bringing in somebody to hire. You want to know that work ethic is built in.
I love that both of you want to take your employees, people who work for you, you want them better off when they leave you than when they started.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people don't do. I mean, you want them to be successful and grow under you.
And I think if you've ever been underappreciated as an employee, it makes it easy. And I know when we started our business, I said, there are things that we will not do because of the way other brokers have done it.
Exactly.
And I've learned that you can't take that route. That might work for them. But I think you got to know your core values, and you gotta be willing to stick to that, even in the toughest moments, even when you need some money. It's like you got to stick to. And one of the best things my father ever told us is don't let circumstances dictate your character. You need to have that same character.
That is a great
It's
philosophy.
one of the best things I say, and I think of it all the time, but it truly is vital. And we know there's difficult situations. Both Corey and I went to the bank today only to realize it's Juneteenth and it's a bank holiday.
I know. I said the same thing. I had no idea.
And then I didn't,
and I felt terrible.
Yeah, especially I was gonna do it yesterday. I'm like, I can just put it in tomorrow morning. Forgot about it. Middle of the week, all that stuff.
It's their anniversary.
I said the exact same thing. I said, "What's Juneteenth?"
Yeah, it's a bank holiday, but I guess it's only been a bank holiday for 2 years.
Yes, it's fairly new. It's fairly new, which is that is funny. But yeah, Corey, we would definitely love to have you on again and talk more. Definitely like to promote your book. If you have a website or anything for your business, I can put it in the show notes so people can click on it. And
even if it's
all that stuff is good.
All American Pavement and Construction.com spelled out.
Nice.
All American Pavement and Construction.com.
Paving. And like A-N-D or
A-N-D.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll text it to you as well.
Same
All
thing
American
on
Paving and Construction.
Corey Frantz on Facebook, Instagram, All American Paving Division.
No, don't worry. You're going to get tagged and everything, and then I will put your website in the show notes. This is still new. This is our third episode, but we're getting a decent listenership, and it's going to continue to grow the more content we put out. So I think it'll be really good for you. And then eventually, we're going to get to target. I want to target Erie County and target a certain demographic. So anyone who's I run ads on LinkedIn. So anyone who's on LinkedIn, if you want to target ages 21 to 34 or 35 to 50, when they're on their LinkedIn feed,
business starters,
Yeah, you can target their interests, whatever you want. Whenever they're on their LinkedIn feed, they'll see an ad for the podcast, and then I put in the website, Marsha Marsh, and then I can put your stuff in. That's the beauty of it. And it's the best because it's so highly targeted. You know you're going to hit your market. Whereas in radio and television, you're just throwing it out into the air. You don't know who's listening. You at least know that you're getting the people that you want. So that's the beauty of that. But thank you so much for being with us. You did an outstanding job for your first podcast.
That was great, man. See,
you weren't as nervous. It wasn't as nervous as you thought it was going to be, right?
There isn't too much that makes me nervous, boss.
Yeah, I could, dude. If you were a paratrooper, I can see that. There's probably not much that makes you nervous. There probably isn't much that makes you nervous.
Ex-wife.
Well, that's
another day too, right?
Yeah, oh boy, yeah,
that I could see making you nervous.
That's my next book.
We'll write a whole book on her. But yeah, thank you so much for being with us. We really appreciate it. It's great, Laban, that you're bringing on guests and guests with different backgrounds, and it's awesome that we get to talk about different topics. So this was a great conversation.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. I appreciate it.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Well, I appreciate your time, and again, we're going to keep it growing. I appreciate your mentorship with it, and
you're doing great, man.
You're the universe best podcast host, so it's who else I want to learn from?
My own mind, at least.
That it works for me, dude, and my mind. So you got at least two of us.
I appreciate that. But yeah, I will get this up and probably post it tomorrow. I want to get the other one posted. I'm falling behind a little bit because
you're a busy man.
I'm banned from Facebook. I'm suspended from Facebook, which is hilarious.
Trump
no, it was a podcast that I did to try to be nice, and it was about mental health and suicide prevention, and somebody reported it, and I got my account suspended for like 7 days. So, and I can't contend it. I can't I just want to talk to someone. I'm like, what am I doing? What did I do? And I can't get an answer.
Wow.
So that's why Laban's going to help me.
Yeah.
Laban's going to have to post.
I'll be your surrogate.
I had an Instagram
I'm going to write
for me that was like since the beginning.
Oh,
over somebody making a racist comment to me. I called them the B word.
Oh yeah, and then they shut you down.
B word, they shut me down. I'm like,
really? Just for that? I thought we had freedom of speech.
Well, we did at one point,
I guess we did.
Yeah, that was uncomfortable for a while. It's like I'm never getting an Instagram. 3 days later, I got an Instagram.
I'm gonna write the description and have to send it to Laban, and Laban's gonna post it. So we'll definitely get it up. But thank you again, Mr. Corey Frantz. Is it France or France? Do you care?
France.
Corey Frantz.
Like
Corey
France.
Yeah. Corey Frantz. Thank you for your service in our country.
Yeah.
MMA fighter, business owner, author. I mean, you're doing it all. Congratulations. My co-host, Laban Marsh. Another fantastic episode.
Great
this
to be
has
with
been
you.
Broker Than You, sponsored by Marsha Marsh Real Estate. And for the best podcast host in the universe, Steve Cully. Remember, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges and throw them back at life.